Greetings and welcome. I'm Psychic Medium Roberto, and I truly hope you're doing well. No, this is not the Three Stooges. You are watching Psychic Medium Roberto. I'm starting the episode with a bit of cheekiness. Trigger warning: the subject matter is of a mature nature and deals with true crime events. All cases are treated as alleged until proven in a court of law. Now, before we get started, I want to make a disclaimer regarding my previous readings, and long story short, they stand. However, having applied a new technique, the 369, allows me to go deeper and deeper to what is actually really going on with this horror scene. So in this episode, and I'll make disclaimers as I go, versus trying to do everything in one go. So there is certainly more information involved here. And I believe on this read I have found the answer. It took a while. We will look at the event as we see it linearly from November the 10th to November the 15th. Then we're going to look at it from a 369 perspective. I'm going to include the so-called arrest of Brian, 369. There are many items of evidence. I have selected this one randomly. It just popped up on my feed. This is a court document when Bethany went to court to fight a subpoena with regards to the case, and I've done a 369 on that as well. It's all related. You know, when we look at dates, even if it's not just the crime date, but like the next trial date or a piece of evidence, it's all part of the timeline. So we'll get evidence or information. I'm going to bring in a bit of a case study with the assassination of Ronald Reagan. I found some links. I'm going to do a profile on the Idaho state itself. And here's the founding date here. I believe I have found some interesting information here. And of course, are we watching a puppet show? So if we start on the sequence of days, and I went back to grade school, we're going to play color in the right numbers, matching right numbers. Okay, back to basics. The first issue we have is this 11-2, 11-2. Now, of course, I would imagine, I'll give you an estimate. In the past 6 months, I have been on a 90-degree learning curve. So, with regards to, and this is the issue. I would say the main issue out of all of the readings I've done, this is the opportune time because you need to know this before we get going. When you look at a set of numbers, context is very important, right? Because context tells you, found a dead person sitting on a bench in a park. Death, not suspicious. Okay, that's the context. Then you get a set of dates, and you see, does the story exist within the sequence of numbers, right? So the optics on the first pass is students are, of course, gruesomely murdered in the house. And Brian, the lurker, is the sole person to have committed the crime. That's the current narrative, right? So we look for that. And on the day of the event, we see a 15-6. That is the perp. That is the arsehole. Okay, so that story is true. But is it true? Now, when we change optics and we're looking at this from I'll just be frank, an Illuminati, sacrificial, heinous murder committed on young, innocent students, and we'll discuss about innocence in a minute, because the reason they're using these guys is the party atmosphere that was happening in the house. That's part of the reason. 33 is parties. It's part of the reason. But when you look at it from optics of the big fathers of the town, the big fathers of the state, then we start getting a different story. So, for example, the state of Idaho. The territory was officially organized on March the 3rd, 1863, by act. So this is the birth. And signed into law by President Abraham Lincoln. Now, I'm just saying, in terms of research disclosure, July the 3rd, 1890 is when I believe it becomes a state, the 43rd state. Now, when we're dealing with dates, your birth date is your birth date. If you, let's say, for example, this is just giving you a quick example, you're born March the 3rd, 1863, but on July the 3rd, 1890, they say you now, you are this, that, and the other, but you're Idaho, but you're still, you know what I mean? In other words, or if you change your name, or if you change your sex, if you change whatever, it doesn't matter. The day you are born is the day you are born. So this is the founding date of Idaho State, if we're following the Illuminati optics, right? And we'll go deeper, because Illuminati these days is quite a broad spectrum, but we'll go deeper. Spirit is with me. I was digging deep into some information about Idaho. So I don't know why I looked at this, but I just did. So interestingly, obviously every state has their favorite birds, fish. It's like that in South Africa as well, right? So fish, cutthroat trout, cutthroat. The insect of choice is the monarch butterfly. Very, very interesting. And I'm recording this on September the 12th. So, that can't be meaning anything, right? Okay, March the 3rd, 1863. Oops. We get the 3 plus the 3 plus the 6. So the 3 plus the 3, we get a 6 outcome. With the 18-9 gives us the 24-6, 15-6. Now, interestingly, this year already spells problems, if you look at it from a negative aspect. So why would the group of people, or the state, let's talk about a state first, why would a state or this territory have conflict? There's conflict within themselves. Do you see that? And 3 speaks about communities. So, of course, we can all agree Like in South Africa, every nation has their issues through history. And is there a need, for example, to accommodate, colloquially speaking, two communities, right? Two different types of communities. Whether, for example, if it's black or white living together, or whether if it's Democrats living with Republicans, whatever it is, there's already a conflict. So 6, of course, is, on the positive aspect, is heart, human, soul. It is technically a very positive number. It does have good energy. I'll put an asterisk there for later. And we have the outcome 24-6. So we can say, on one level, family orientated, 24-6. They have issues, 15-6. No, which country in the world has zero crime, right? And the fact that there are humans in every state and every city, we'll always have issues, right? And as an outcome 6. So interestingly, now when we look at it holistically, we have a double 3 and a double 6. So it's already more than normal, let's say. And then you have numbers like a 9, which brings around additional energy. We've spoken numerous times about 18 now, positive and negative. So there's energy within these numbers. Okay? And when we flip the script, 6 brings around things like cults, rituals, blood. 6 equals blood. Okay, let's keep that in mind. And we take with us to the next slides, cutthroat trout and monarch butterfly. Because the question I was having, even in the beginning, do you see how many 6s are around here? There's too many 6s going on here. So when we change our optics and we look at, yes, on surface level, we know these guys got taken out big time. And the narrative is the narrative as we know it, but what is going on? So in the, let me just see the lead up here. So the next step I did, and here's where the negative comments are going to come in, or the shocker of information. Now, it's not to say, or let me just put it this way. I don't like making excuses. The next basic step I did was Brian's numbers. Here's Brian's numbers here, right? So in the diagram here, at grade 1 level, I highlighted all the numbers that are directly related to Brian, like direct matches, not necessarily direct matches, but significant matches. So for example, here we see a direct match, 23, 5, 14, 5, and here he is, 14, 5, 23, 5. Okay, so the issue is obviously what we're seeing now. 14.5, typically, I'll make it yellow for now, and I'll explain why it was orange. He pops up again on the next day, right? So we know reports. He was filming, even later that day, I believe, filming the crime scene, right? So there's presence. So he's, even on the day, okay, he's around. There's no doubt. Okay. This is the Idaho numbers here. Now, on this day, we have a 15-6. Now, if we zoom out from, and we're not on the individual level, but now we go organizational. 15-6, 24-6. 24-6, 15-6. Hold on, there's more. 15-6 direct match. Okay, hear me out. We'll get there. The other issue that I found to be the issue or anomalous in the sequence of events, and I believe this is very important. And the reason why I found the answer to this anomaly is related to, and the reason why I'm bringing in, is the arrest sequence. That gave me the answer for why is there a 21-3 here. Now let me explain why this is significant. So we're going to play the story in real time as we see it in the sequence here, right? So 11-2-13-4-6, the murders are taking place. That's the narrative, right? Followed by 24-6-15-6. So this will tell me nature of crime, who was involved, what went down. Okay. But why would there be this number here, 21-3, after the fact? So 21-3 is about, and I'm just double checking I'm on the correct slide. Yes. 21-3 is an abduction, constraint, taking people against their will, right? So why would this number be here if the people in the house are already dead? So in other words, who, after the fact, who was abducted and taken hostage and kidnapped, or whatever you want to call it? Because this happens after the fact. This happens after midnight. Sunset, beg your pardon. So let me just put here. This is what was bugging me. Let me just put it here. There's a lot of information. I believe this may be session 4 to 6. Depending on how you look at it. So why is there an abduction after the fact? And who has been taken captive? So there's, for me, already now one issue on the day. Now this technically I could have spotted when I did the show, right? The problem now comes in when we go to the +3 and the +6 and the +9. Here's the 21-3, right? And it's significant because it appears again in the +6. The people at the scene. These are the people here. And we'll get to the Brown issue in a minute. These two numbers, 33 and 21-3, are the actual people at the crime scene. And the plot does thicken. And I'll explain why. Or do I need to if we all connected to the same vibe, right? Oh, I don't know why I'm trembling while I'm doing this. Of course, I'm the first one to fall on my own sword. Twice if I have to. But there is still truth here. Have a look here. For example, 39-12-3, there were definitely more than one person involved in the crime. And we'll go deeper. And I've just seen now again, shit. I'm a bit flabbergasted myself. Trust me, I've been working on it for a while. And it was pinging on me the last 2 or 3 days. I even made a mention the other day how this trial has been dragged through. And I believe the answer came to me yesterday why he is, because he is involved. But the reason why he's dragging this out is because if I believe, and we'll go through the sequences, I'll show you. Let's say for argument's sake, this went down in 2020, right? It's already 2024, okay? Had he gone to jail, let's say for argument's sake, in 2022 even, he would be dead already, okay? That's one of the reasons. That came to me yesterday, actually. So let's go through the +3, +6, 9 very carefully and slowly here. This is the day of the event as we know it. And I know there's been comments about, and even theories about, were they taken out before this? But I don't believe it's the case. I will say, based on the 369, there is a variance issue of time. I will say, because it's there, but it's not pinpoint. Do you know what I mean? So I'm saying as well, it feels like there's, and it's nothing about my reading, but there's a variance about more or less. So if we had to look at the gap from when supposedly the murders happened to when the police were called, would that be the gap? More or less, I'd say a little bit more time than that. There's a variance here. Okay, there's an issue in time here as well. But we here, so have a look. And the +3, so what is the intention of this situation? Okay. We all grow as we grow. So what is the intention? So on one hand, at the level of CIA and FBI, we can say surveillance. 16.7 is surveillance, right? But I believe in this case, it is a form of assassination. Because when you're dealing with operational numbers, here's the big alarm bell here. So which I discovered, in the +6, we have a 1910-1 transactional number in regular crime. But this also becomes an operational number. Now, once we go +3, +6, +9, we start getting very close to the truth, right? Again, we have another match here. 27, 9, 18, 9. Now, of course, now we ask, why is the CIA involved? And I'll explain. I've already alluded to here. They're all Monarch buddies. I mean, the CIA is the fucking creator of the Monarch fucking program, right? Let's not kid ourselves here. So, and of course, just to add a bit of a cherry, we know there's mamas and papas sitting around this town, right? Those 37-10-1 motherfuckers. So, of course, we've got to have local support. FBI. The CIA and FBI never, or according to my research on a number of cases, in most cases work hand in hand, right? But don't forget, and let's not forget here, because we know the papas and the mamas in Idaho were getting pissed off about the partying that was going on in that house. And regardless, we can say it was whatever was being peddled there, whatever happened. I read an article now of a accidental overdose death in that house. Whatever it was, that's not the way to solve a problem, right? Call the fucking police. Not make a scare tactic on the locals and to all the students is the intention, yeah? So we also have 24-15-6, 24-15-6, sir. In the +6 zone, here's an operational number. Ping-a-ding-a-ling on the CIA. Gruesome murder. Beg your pardon. Let's just go one step back. Beg your pardon. 33-6. Ritualistic murder. All part of the Illuminati Monarch program to scare the living daylights out of locals and students around the country. Don't fuck around with your education, right? And this is the reason. That's part of the motive, as dumb as it may seem. 21-3. So let's start with 12-3. 12-3 is about community, right? What the parties were doing, 33 parties, was anti-community. Anti-community. And in order to preserve the community and also take control, that's also the one thing, control, we know the story as we know it today. Right? This is the heinous nature of the crime. Terrible crime. So now here is the revelation when we come to the Illuminati, the Monarch program. Here it is right here in the +9. What is actually going on? Look at that. I will explain. I'm going to take this moment here because I said I'll give anecdotal info on previous readings. The image that got me onto this case, I received of Zaina sitting up in bed. That I'll put my head on the block and you can chop my head off. I saw it like it was clear of day. There are other images that I saw, taking video, taking night goggles. The Monarch program, and this is why numerology cuts through all that bullshit, right? And this is why I have gone with, I enjoy numerology. I've explained why I don't do tarot, for example. I'm a visual person, and if I see a visual of something and then I see a tarot card with a different visual, that will just confuse me, right? So I see numbers. And this PMR369 is cutting it here, lekker. Okay. Illuminati, welcome to the party, motherfuckers. 11-2. 22-4, Monarch. 33-6. Sacrifice. Human sacrifice. So we still have an issue here. There's still more. Why? We have a 21-3. So why is the 21-3 still happening after the fact? All right, so let's zoom out here quickly. You'll recall with the channels that I've been reviewing, the foundation date, so the date of the crime is the window shopping, is the shop front, okay? And when we get into the +9, we start seeing the real inside the shop. But the problem is this 21-3 is still playing a part here. So what is going on? Now, this event, obviously, is the event, precedes the arrest sequence. So let's go into the arrest sequence, because I believe the answer is here. As we know the story to be, Brian is arrested on this day. Okay. Now, we can see with his date of birth from 55 all the way down to 10-1. So in many aspects, it's pinging on him. There's the 15-6, the perpetrator. Right? It's reflected. But remember, when we got into +9, we see a hidden 33-6. Right? Ritualistic murder. We see it here, 33-6. Now here comes another number, 42-6. Which is going to play a significant role here. Because if you follow linearly, 42-6, 45-9, also a terrible number, I'll get to that. I just see numbers and touch numbers, I get an energy going. 48-12-3, very significant. It's the same hidden issue, right? 51-6, ghastly number at a crime scene. This sequence here, the 42-6 onwards, tells a story. So, on one hand, we can say decisions have been made to arrest this person. Here's even the court number. Now, if we change the optics and we say this is all a Monarch experiment exercise, there's even that famous ritualistic murder number. Actually, let me highlight that. I've just spotted that now, actually. So, at all these celebrity functions, when they meet their maker or however their contract is arranged, we see this number. 37-10-1, the papas and the mamas. Okay. The shop window. Okay. Here is where the 21-3 comes into play. So the question is, if there's a 21-3 in play, which means someone is being, let's just say, on one hand, you could even say falsely arrested. In this case, when you're dealing with these oaks, right? When you're dealing with these people. When we see numbers like 48-12-3, 39-12-3, particularly 39-12-3 is very similar to 21-3, except this has an operational level to it. There's more than one team involved. So who was taken out after the event? That we don't know about, because as far as we know, it's him and these two ladies here, the two obviously been in the house, and him being arrested. So who was abducted after the fact, or who was even taken out? 4812-3. As mentioned in previous episodes, we can argue a lot of people have these numbers here, right? 33, 21-3, 12-3. But now when you get these bigger numbers, that is like a definite fingerprint. Or in other words, fewer people will have, or organizations for that matter, will have that number. So why are they here? Why would the CIA, and I'm not the textbook on how US law systems work, but as far as I know, CIA is international affairs. These guys here, or let's say these guys here, FBI, deal with domestic issues, right? So why is the CIA in the background? What are they doing? And I believe, I know, this would have to be in another episode, but I know there were some other mysterious disappearances and deaths. This confirms to me there's other activity happening in the background, people being constrained, restricted, and even murdered. 9. So if we go over to the +9, we see 51-6. And the 51-6 speaks to the gravity of what must have been inside that house to human beings. Okay? And here 42-6 speaks of the same. Now it's interesting that in the +9, we have these 55, 10, 1, 46, 10, 1, 28, right? Which of course pings on our Mr. Brian here. Now, if the theory operational, and of course we can agree when they went to arrest him, in some parts it was operational, but still reflecting our suspects, the real suspects. But where have we seen this kind of sequencing before, right? So when you're dealing with an assassination, yes, there were, let's say at a policing level, were supporting crowd support. Of course, there were local police. But when you're dealing with an assassination attempt, and there are other people involved that shouldn't be involved, they are reflected. So we can look at this as a thumbprint from an operational point of view. Okay. Having discovered this, we're going to go deeper. Because having discovered this, so there's definitely an operation that has taken down here, that has gone down here. This was operational level, okay? Not necessarily a Brian level on his own, okay? The plot thickens. We're going to dip into another timeline of events when Bethany now files the subpoena. You're more than welcome to go check it out. I haven't left the link in the description, but if you type in, you'll find this information, right? So there it is there. Let me just see something here for you quickly. 1 second. Why is it not giving me that option? Oh, there. I'm just showing you that it did come off my laptop. Hold on. All right. 11th, yesterday at 7:30 a.m. It's not a fake image given to me to share. It exists in the real. But have a look here for a minute. Beg your pardon, let me just sort this out quickly. So here's please don't quote me on legal terms. I'm going to speak colloquially. You can go to Melanie's channel for up-to-date current legal jargon. What a amazing channel. All right, here we go. April 21. Ooh. I just kind of realized that now myself. My God, this ultimately is not as complicated as we think. However, sorry for the sidetrack. However, I believe the story of the Three Stooges is in play. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I'll explain that in a minute. So she files an application here, right? Because this is the other thing. In the case of the housemates, right? I beg your pardon. I'm going to leave it as is. Let me just do a drop-in here quickly. Well, not a drop-in, before we continue with the dates. The current narrative... Sorry, I'm just fixing... The current narrative... or let's put it this way, the current suspicion, or one of them at least, is the two housemates were involved, right? Because how do you escape? And we can say, yes, they're at the bottom of the house and it's one level down or 2 levels, and then it's Zaina, and we all know what the positions were, right? How did they escape? Surely, if the house is the house of horrors in the sense of community values, right? The parties, they're telling me to calm down. 33 parties for days, right? Now, I had a digs down in Cape Town when I was at varsity, and our house was one of the main thoroughfares to the evening. Let's say that. But my God, to what level? This is what's been baffling me as a human being, right? To what level are the fathers and the mothers prepared to go to teach the community a lesson? And we can argue, in this case, the community is students, uni students, college students. So, striking fear once again into the hearts and minds of students. So we've got to ask ourselves, what is going on here? Another telltale sign, and this we're going to change now to, I believe, anti-community. There was a question mark there. The motive. Well, we can argue motive on one hand, and of course, on the other hand, for feasting purposes, right? Another telltale sign that I maybe didn't pick up in the original reading. Immediately the next day, who do we have here? 14:5, liar, liar, pants on fire. Scripted 13:4. Obviously, we have different optics going on now. The story, script. I meant to mention this with the... just pass me a bucket there, please. 22:4, the plan, and in her case, beg your pardon, and in her case it was contracts, but in the case of the Illuminati, 22:4, the grand master plan, scripted about corpses. Yeah, the corpses, yeah. We have this 11:2. There's a lot of information. Sorry for the background noise. This is probably about take 4, part 4 recording, because the local maintenance situation is happening in the unit area. And I'm just going to go now. 11:2, beg your pardon, is an original conflict, which we say is, from an Illuminati perspective, there they are. Ironically, actually, now that we know a little bit more information, remember these guys? These are the mamas and the papas in the area. They also have a 3+3. Let's have a look here quickly. And we, of course, have shown that they are of the Monarch branch. So, all in, as per script, here we go, 13:4, 22:4, behind the scenes, the grand master plan motherfuckers. So, unfortunately, I will say I missed it. However, now that the training wheels are off, during the past 6 months of rocket ship, and I've just been alluded to something, making fools of us, because we know Hollywood can script a mean motherfucker. And we also do know that the CIA own a great portion of scripts and actors. So, well scripted, well disguised. So 16:7 can also speak about a disguise. Now, this is what I'm going to get into in terms of Monarch programming and influence. Hear me out. Influence during a situation. So, 1, the plot. There's terror in the house. And then the mushroom effect happens where media goes berserk, right? And of course, Monarch is in there programming the information. (369), ladies and gentlemen. 16:7 is the chameleon number as well. 16:7 is the chameleon number. So in other words, if we look at it purely from a scripting story narrative perspective, it's a story about the unfortunate demise of students, per plan, scripted, cloaked though, 16-7, cloaked as a chameleon, made to look a particular way. Okay? But it is given away because we have a 14-5 in play. Now, yes, it speaks about foul play. The problem here is, which it is foul play, we have human hands, let's say for argument's sake, human hands interfering with a situation with an outcome 5, which means it's corrupt. There's corruption. 14-5 in the financial world is corruption. And it exists here as well. Foul play. The story as we know it is bullshit. Hence, the Three Stooges. So my theory, and this is not, while meditating on all of this, asking the questions then, why did these two stay alive? Let's start with them. I've done several disclaimers on my previous readings. We're revisiting with different optics. Imagine the scenario where students are killed in their digs, yet there are 2 survivors way down here at the bottom. And then we discover that this gruesome murder takes place. So who are we going to automatically accuse? Let's play it out a bit. It must be the 2 survivors. And even as grandiose as their story, she was, and I believe she actually may have taken photographs of this. That's the one I may be seeing. But this is a little bit unexplainable because she's right on Zaina's floor, but sees the perpetrator. And it must have been Brian. But what are their origins? Because once you get into these environments, university campuses and things like that, we know there's recruiting happening. So in the human narrative or the human level, we can argue it must be these 2 because they were there. Whether they were handlers or whatever the situation may be, okay? Even if, let's just say, because the current narrative is they must have been involved. It's a smokescreen. Here's the 16-7 chameleon effect. We see it as a murder, but there's more to it. It's premeditated, and we've seen the sequence of power numbers. The 22-4, the plan. 33-6. To draw attention away from these guys. we ask the question again. Why would your own people do this to their own people? There's the answer here. 3. It's always right in front of us. 3. Control. And not just ordinary control, by the way. Here's forced control here. Forced control. Forced control. Monarch programs. Motherfuckers. So interesting, I've never made a comment about, and we'll get back to the main thread in a second. Let's just ponder for a moment. 11-11-22. I never, and I know you asked in the comments, but I never questioned it. And of course, with different optics, let's say 11-11-22, what are we saying here? You know what I mean? The power numbers galore. Now, in my original thinking, 2 + 2 + 1 + 1 is 6. Oh, 6. That's also interesting. 11-22. 11-22. House of Horrors. It also asks the question. What was I going to say? It also asks the question, regardless of the reasons given in court or the agreements or whatever, the court case has not even begun, yet the main body of evidence has been torn down. You might as well throw the weapon away and never find it ever again, right? It's like throwing the body away. We've done our autopsy, whatever. Yes, that can happen. Bullshit, motherfuckers. Monarch programming. Sorry for repeating that word. That's not intended. Let's put light and peace over the show, and may the dark forces fuck off. I live by a piece of text. Have nothing to do with the fruitless deeds of darkness, motherfuckers, but rather expose them. Okay? So we've got quite a party going on here. Now let's get back to, I believe I may not have concluded. Bethany, sorry for the tangents, and I've been switching off and on because of the lawnmower special effects that come free with Google when you record your show. All right, so let's just do a quick recap if I missed something here. Oh, no, there's a whole lot here. Date stamp, April 21. Now, there's issues going on here, right? You recall with, so if we go 21-3-4, so documentation, any 4 brings around any legal documents, any documents, paperwork, written material, of course, that is worthy of legal standing or is of legal standing is a 4. Now we go 2-5-7. So there's a conflict here. Well, let's just say there's a dispute. Okay. Now on one hand, so on the regular, on a human being level, character Bethany comes to the courts and she has a problem with the defendant. So this makes sense, 25-7. On the surface. However, when you look and you see, we have 3 sevens here, that something is amiss. Too many of the same numbers in a negative aspect. We are dealing with a negative situation is not a good thing. If you're feeling I need to explain the difference between Melanie's numbers because she has a lot of sevens, hers in the positive because she had a 7 year. But also you've got to consider the other numbers around in context of the whole as well. So in her case, ensuring justice takes place 7, controlling the way, for example, our evidence is managed, ensuring that by the time it gets to court, it is a clean case to proceed, right? Now, the issue here, we're dealing with a negative situation, right? 21-3, again, who do we have here? William, the Blood King in waiting. Let me rather use a square. Not that he's a square, it just makes it visibly better. 21-3, manipulation. And I'll use orange for our friends in the Monarch program. Okay, 21-3, we have a manipulation going on here. So, plus we have 3 sevens. There's a double manipulation. There's 2 messages being sent here, in other words, if you want to take it on the literal. Because in my opinion, with the new optic, one, if we're working on the theory, how do the 3 stooges get involved, how they're involved, and so on, right? There's 2 messages being sent here. One, to the public. Character Bethany is upset with character Brian about evidence. I beg your pardon, I haven't done a deep dive into exactly what, but it's not a nice thing, let's say, right? I mean, it says here, surviving University of Idaho roommate fights subpoena requiring her to testify in alleged killer's defense. So that actually confirms the second message. So in the story version, script version, Bethany's not happy with the villain. On the other hand, Bethany, do we say agent, undercover, what program participant, is actually informing the other participant. You screwed, motherfucker. You are going down by yourself. I've done scripting in the past. I have another piece of evidence. We need to confirm, right? This is the shop window here. This is the shop window. We're going to go deeper. So there's 2 stories at play, right? You'll recall from the Karen Reed show, 32-5. So what was going on behind the scenes at the pedo school camp? They were disbanding. Why? We know the story with Sandra, right? The group, 14-5, the group, the gang, and let me add the other gang member and the other gang members. It's all bullshit. We're watching Hollywood play on the real screen, or let's put inverted brackets, reality TV, right? What led me on to discovering the other, or let's say the puppet masters in the background, was the following sequence. Now we can argue we're in a 7 year, so the sevens are always going to feature, right? We can say as well with Brian, beg your pardon, because he is born in November, he has the 11-2, right? And because this, which is from his November, and because this happens in November, there is always an 11-2. But in circumstances like that, you need more than just one number. So you would need another core number like their life path number type thing, or the number in the core number year or even year to verify information, right? It's like with tarot or with any practice, you have to get confirmation, right? So why are there so many sevens around? If you just look at it holistically, these 4 blocks, and again we say that the 2 sevens in the year, yes, but we have a 7 year and we have a 7 year. This is what alerted me to the fact. So it can mean 2 things. One, it's a family issue. They've come to family court and we're going to sort out any family type issues, right? It can also bring around teachers. But in this case, it brings around authorities, people in official positions. That's what it alerted me, because this actually happened, put me onto this situation, these guys. So what is going on here? This year, you see here, 28-10-1, here it is right here actually. Of course, I've done some prep and some will be new. 28-10-1, sending a message. Loud and clear. A communication has been sent between 2 people. Let's get finite, motherfuckers. Communication, but it's also an organizational message. This ain't going to end well for him, eh? And this is why I say before, I've been working on this for several hours, off and on, and the message received yesterday. And I know I mentioned this early on, but the delay tactics. He's actually really trying to save his life. Even though in the real and in the actual, he's the villain. Well, he's one of the villains, right? So he's the fall guy. Because once he goes to jail, he is away from the public eye, media scrutiny, let's go deeper, +6, 27-9, so there's the premeditation, fucking script, eh? Check there, 13-4. This 13-4 is actually the writer, the author, on one hand, right? But it also speaks about the story. 13.4 story. The script actually would be the 22.4. I think I've mentioned that, right? Where did we see that? (22.4). That's the script. That's the manuscript story. Plus 6, huh? Hidden, the anti-script, or the dead bodies. You can tap into any timeline of an event at any point, and you will get information. 38.11.2, see, as the collective, of course, this is as illegal as you want to get. 11 about the law, but it's also a power number. They love their power numbers. They love distorting power numbers. They love distorting and perverting things. So in the plus 9, these guys are funny, eh? So 21, we've got manipulation, right? We mentioned anti-community, breaking of community, right? 34.7, I beg your pardon, 30. 30 with an outcome 3 is the party, right? Is the celebrations, let's say maybe even the excuse or the reason why this all unfolded, right? Because there may have been a concern about the antisocial behavior that was being created through that party house. But of course, it was a soft target in the end, if you think about it on an operational level. On an operational level, these students didn't stand a chance. Particularly coming home late at night after drinking, eating, like normal, everyone does it. Take advantage, motherfuckers. But 30, with an outcome 3, also speaks about collective agencies. Murder of innocence. So and in the early days, yes, you can go to the house as a policeman and say, please turn the noise down. But do we take an opportunity to make a show of it? 33. Now here's an issue for me. 41.5. Now we mentioned in the Melanie sequences in terms of her process as a lawyer, attorney that she would have done in the past. But it speaks about process. So again, bringing evidence to court for disclosure. Okay. 5 is disclosure in the court environment. However, we have a problem here. In conjunction with other numbers, and I'll explain. So coming to court, you've got the evidence. But when you hand over to the court, you're only handing over 1. Because here's the evidence. So on one hand, they're changing the narrative. And the reason why I believe this is the case. Now, the reason why I believe this is the case, that I believe evidence has been tampered with. Now, we are remoting into the crime scene, not necessarily she goes to court here, right? This still will ping on the actual main event. The reason why I believe the evidence, so the evidence in the house, the evidence in the house has been tampered with. And the reason why is because obviously they want to control sevens, the narrative. There it is here, the story. Because the story as we know it is false, 14.5. It's reflected here. So on the one hand, they do speak about the behavior coming out of the house is destroying communities, destructing communities, right? The 23.5 would be the upside right side of a tarot card. 32.5 speaks about upside down. So it says destruction of communities. That's what they want us to believe. That the anti-community, anti-social, the antisocial behavior brought around by the house is the reason why these guys were murdered. That's the narrative. There's the narrative there, antisocial behavior or breaking of communities. It's bullshit. They're controlling the narrative, controlling evidence, controlling the story. When we go into the event itself, what story what are they trying to control? Here's all the fathers and the mothers sitting all there nicely. They are again controlling society. We can even argue 33 greater society. 12.3 communities. 3 is all about control. I believe we've been played with, unfortunately. Now that I have my big boy pants on and a variety of optics available, I believe we have been fooled by a masterful puppet show. And this is the issue about these Monarch motherfuckers, is they are playing with human beings, emotions, messing with global citizens. How dare they? And what are their special interests? What the hell? I must just say, from a personal level, with this 369, Never has it been so clear ever before. Now, of course, I mean, look at if we just take a brief, let's just change optics on the arrest days. Look there, higher ups, the 44s, the 55-10-1, operational numbers here, ladies and gentlemen, and not small. I'm not talking about 3 police cars going to swoop onto his house. 3 police cars, whatever it was. We're talking operations. This 40 is almost like army level. Do you know what I mean? This is counterintelligence, full intelligence. What we see is only part of. See how this 33 keeps popping up here? $33.6. Did we have? We only focused on some of the areas here. $33.6. I'll just highlight them. $33.6. Look at this sacrificial number here, 46-10-1. Where was it? Yeah. When I did the 369 initially in preparing for this episode, this number here was the clue for me that things are amiss. When there's a 19-10-1 in a crime scene sequence, you got to know shit is off. So my intention is never to mislead anyone or misrepresent or misinterpret. This is why I also say, and I say this, it might offend some people, this is why we need confirmation tools as psychics and mediums. And I have been feeling this for the past year or so, or even doing all of these cases, right? That the air and or let's say colloquially speaking, there's shit in the air, okay? Now, when you're dealing with things like Monarch programming, and there's been lots of research done on it, all that bullshit in the 60s and 70s, and still into contemporary day, that the psychic warfare and blocking and cloaking and cloning bullshit is the need to have a confirmation tool. That, I mean, who would have thought? So the event happens here, November 13. 9 days later, in a sequence of numbers, dates, and calendar sequences, the answer's right in front of us. And over the past few months, I mean, I've always had the +3. In the past 2 months, discovering 6 and 9, and then Tesla and universal numbers. It's been a journey, but fuck me, is it accurate. Cuts through all the bullshit. I'll be here all day, motherfuckers. So if we ever had to choose a number for Monarch, that's this number here. I'll meditate on it some more. And the reason why I say so is it speaks about forced control. Oh, I'm visiting my doctor today. Please sign me up for a Monarch program. I heard it's so good for you. Mr. Katy Perry. And what's her name? The Swifties. Monarch. Motherfuckers. So, ladies and gentlemen, having done now a deep dive 369 on this motherfucker, the conclusion is as follows. The scene of the crime was of a operational nature. Of the highest level. To suit and feed and glorify the mamas and the papas through a ritualistic murder to send messages about anti-community behavior, and it will not be tolerated with, and keeping the communities under control. And now there's only one stooge left in jail. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure it came as a surprise and a shock. It did for me, or the awakening. Please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section. I do love engaging with them. Bye for now.